Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. Let's go Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of disappointing. Saints favored by 1.5 here. Why is that? 3-7 Falcons, the 2-8 Saints battle for last place now in the NFC South.
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. officially out for the season. As of record time yesterday when we broke it down, it wasn't officially official because we thought, he's on IR, but there's a chance he could come back. But no, they're gonna fix the entire ACL. So he's out for the season. Drake London is out this week, their top wide receiver by a mile.
Yep.
And so it's Kirk Cousins thrown to David Sills.
And that's why.
That's why, and that is why the Saints are favored by 1.5 here.
Yep.
The Falcons in a tough spot right now. Year 2 of Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, general manager. Some aggressive moves the last couple of years, obviously, leaving little draft capital going forward. They've got a potential top 10 pick that's going to the Rams right now. So it's not looking good in Atlanta, and they're at this point, the last few weeks have really been save your season mode, but now it's really can't afford to lose if you're trying to save your season and have some sort of optimism heading into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I put them into the category of, their season's already done, to be honest.
They're close to the graveyard.
They're not mathematically.
I'm nodding at the graveyard.
Right. They're not mathematically eliminated, but they're effectively done. The thing is, though, I mean, it's going to look really bad if that pick that they ship to the Rams ends up being super high. But it was one of those complicated trades where it's like, those pick swaps involved, and it's a pain trying to net those out because they got a third back, right, in the process, and it's like the third became Xavier Watts. So it's like you can actually construct an argument where James Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watts, if they continue in their current trajectories, actually ends up being like that's a very good combination currently. So that even if it ends up being a top 10 pick, plus the second rounder last year that you had to give up, plus the 7th or something that nets, you'd have to be hitting a pretty high range or high end of possible outcomes of those picks for it to be better than the two you actually ended up getting.
So I get it. Like if you said, we like James Pierce, he's a good player, we'd give up a top 10 pick for James Pierce. That's fine. Where it feels bad as a fan or when you're looking at team building is a team that's currently, even though they're depending on these rookies who could be great these next few years, they're currly 3-7.
Yes.
And then
it's like,
and then you immediately go to
pick on
how are we going to fix? Yeah. How are we going to fix the team? Oh, so we already had that guy on the team. We're 3-7, and we're trying to fix the team, and we got to wait till the second round.
So the problem is not the players that you ended up getting. The problem is you now need reinforcements on top of those players that have already arrived, and you don't have that pick. Like I forget where I saw the stat. Was it ESPN? Where there's like a 17% chance that they ship the 5th overall pick to the Rams based off current, win probabilities and stuff.
And even though,
that doesn't feel great.
We have tomorrow we'll have a Mike Renner's mock draft right here on the show. We're going to break it all down. Pre-recorded that with Mike yesterday. So that'll drop 9 a.m. tomorrow. So that's even something else to be keeping an eye out for. And we talk about the strength of the draft. We talked with Dane Brugler last week. It might not be the strongest draft this year and fewer blue chips. And maybe if there was a year to not have a top 10 pick, this would be the year. But it doesn't soften the blow.
No, and also, the higher up you get, the more impact that makes. I mean, like I said, a 17% chance of it being the 5th overall pick. I mean, a lot of good players get drafted at 5 overall.
And conversely,
Joe Alt, Jamar Chase, you can hit 5 overall is a big pick to be given up.
And conversely, the Rams sitting here with the best record in the NFC.
The Rams could win a Super Bowl and have the 5th overall pick.
Yeah. And that's what the Eagles did a couple years ago, where they were in the Super Bowl and still picking in the top 10 because they had done this multi-year manipulation of the draft. Not to sidebar this too much, but the butterfly effect and the what ifs are just hilarious in this whole situation. The Rams were trying to trade up. Remember the report came out and they showed they were trying to trade up for Tetairoa McMillan, by the way.
Yeah,
which would have been, and they would have had him. This was after they'd already signed Devontae Adams. They would have had both of those guys. They were trying to trade up to 8. Instead, they traded out of the first round and into next year's first round. So sometimes you talk about teams and it's like, well, they were mortgaging the future for this and that. Well, the Rams were doing both. They were like, we're so aggressive, we're gonna try to trade up.
Plan B was the opposite of Plan A.
And so it looks like, oh, great multi-year strategy for the Rams. Well, they were trying to go all in kind of from a draft pick perspective, and they end up now in this incredible position for next year. And that's why we love team building season in football. Anyway, for this game, another start for Tyler Shuck, start number 3 for Shuck against an Atlanta defense. We call the Falcons confusing, which they are, but now their defense is even confusing, right? They gave up 440 last week to Bryce Young through the air, couldn't tackle, yards after the catch was awful. And week to week, though, Atlanta, they have weeks where they're not like Seattle, but like early in the season, they had games where they looked like Seattle's defense, where you don't know where the pressure's coming from, and they're just creating havoc up front, and it just isn't there every single week for Atlanta. So it could be a good challenge for Tyler Shuck, or it might not be.
Yeah. Again, Atlanta, one of the most confusing teams in the NFL. Some weeks that defense looks like one of the best defenses in the NFL, like creative, disruptive, destructive, all of that together. And that's it's the recipe for one of those like, oh my God, Tyler Shuck plays where he just panics and heaves the ball somewhere ridiculous. If that happens, I don't think the Saints will win or cover this line. But you also have games where the defense really doesn't make that much of an impact at all, and they can be attacked, and you can have good success with them. So that side, I think, is the bigger variable to me, is how you're going to go from New Orleans' offensive point of view. The other side, though, I just think Atlanta's going to have a grind, unless they can run the ball very easily. Cousins with his arm right now, throwing to nobody, feels like an awful combination.
Yeah, I mentioned Monday morning, man. His arm looks really bad.
Yeah.
Even worse than last year.
But even last year, it's like Zach now has to spend this entire week trying to craft a game plan for this noodle arm geriatric. That's harsh. You know what I mean?
Noodle arm geriatric.
But that's...
Your wordsmithing is fantastic.
His entire week has to be not just like, let's get him comfortable.
Without
it's
Drake, you can't put Drake London in the slot.
It's like I need to go and I need to junk 85% of this playbook, and I need to come up with a game plan that makes the 15% that's left function for an NFL offense.
I mean, people don't always remember Chad Pennington and watching him play, but he had a below-average arm. I'm always intrigued by the below-average armed quarterback. You could put Brock Purdy in that camp too. Brock Purdy has a below-average NFL arm, I would say, velocity-wise. But it doesn't mean they can't make it work. They just have to anticipate that much more. They have to understand coverage that much more. They have to be one step ahead. You have to throw the ball earlier. And so what I'm seeing with, like Chad Pennington used to do that to the point where teams would just they would ignore deep out cuts, right? They would just ignore parts of the field, or you could just cheat inside. And I think Cousins Purdy's not necessarily at that point, because I think he throws with anticipation out there and he could get it. I don't think Cousins even has the arm to get the ball outside the numbers. So now you're talking about a defense that could say, go ahead, throw it 40 yards, throw it over my head, I dare you. So they're gonna jump everything short, and then you tighten up in the middle and say, go ahead, throw the deep out, throw the deep comeback. You didn't do it last year, and I've seen you throw the ball you can't even do that over the middle right now. So it just feels like passes that are open are just being contested with Cousins' arm right now. So I think it's got to be a heavy run game. Bijan, Algier, probably have to get a little bit more creative with that, with the run game, and just lean on those guys and see how much you can shorten the game if you're the Falcons now against the Saints.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think one of the hardest things to do as an athlete is to rewire your brain. Listen to J.J. McCarthy, is to rewire your brain when your physical capacity has changed. Like, make your brain catch up to the physical changes generally when you get old. When you get old and you lose a step or you lose something, the arm is no longer what it was. Your brain doesn't catch up to that. It never learns. It never realizes that this thing that I used to be able to do, I can't really do anymore. And so you're just constantly. That's how you lose the step. The problem isn't actually losing the step. The problem is your brain never realizes that you've lost the step. So you never change the angle that you're running to. You never offset or combat the fact that you've lost something physically, and that's where it becomes a problem. Chad Pennington always had a noodle for an arm, so he knew how to work around it. Cousins hasn't. Cousins had a perfectly fine arm, and And now he doesn't.
It was about an average NFL arm. It was never great,
But it was fine.
It was fine, yeah.
And now it's not fine. And the problem is his brain is not going to learn until the end of his career that you no longer have the arm that you used to have.
You're right. And did you mention Peyton?
No, but that's why.
That's your favorite example, right? 2000. For those who don't remember, 2012, Peyton Manning's coming off the neck surgery. His first week was okay. His second week, he goes into Atlanta, tries to throw 3 seam routes, and they get picked. He looks awful. And it looked like his career was over.
Yeah. And that's why, like, people have said that Peyton Manning's, the deliberation on Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame, debate was like 12 seconds or whatever. If it had been closer, like if Peyton Manning was actually a sort of borderline Hall of Famer, I would make an argument for him being in the Hall of Fame based off that alone. Like, this guy did something that I've never seen anybody else do, which is on the fly during the course of an NFL season, he rewired his brain to completely change the way he played the game because he realized he could no longer physically do the things that he used to do. That's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen anybody do in sport, because when almost anybody else runs up against that exact scenario, they're just done. It's like, I can't do what I used to do, and I can't change that. Cousins is now in this world where he's attempting throws and the ball's just dropping a yard short at a guy's feet. And it's like, unless you figure out you either can't make that throw anymore, or you need to recalibrate and aim 5 yards beyond him, you're done.
So it's a great point by you, right? It's like, it's not just dealing with the lesser arm. Yeah. Finally, 3 hours in, you finally made
Great
one.
point by me.
When your arm changes, you're adjusting to that, which is different from always, like Kyler Murray's always been short, so he's always got presumably. Maybe he was above average height at some point.
Right, maybe at 6. He was a giant.
But he's probably always been short, so you're always dealing with the height, right? You're always playing with that. Kirk hasn't been. And then from a Shuck perspective, keep an eye on him. Third start. They're coming off their bye. I think he's played pretty clean so far, right? We always talked about the head-scratching decisions. Atlanta would be the type of offense that could induce that with some of their pressure packages and their ability to create havoc. Now, Jalen Walker's looking really good off the edge as a rookie. James Pierce, who we mentioned. So keep an eye on Shuck and some of his decision-making against the Falcons here.
He's also been generally quite inaccurate, which isn't helping. Like, it would be helpful if in between your crazy decisions you were pretty much pinpoint.
It's been the last time we saw him. Who did they play 2 weeks ago? Oh, the Panthers. When they upset the Panthers, he did miss a lot of gimmies.
Yeah.
But he made a lot of big plays as well, right? Or at least gave the opportunity, kind of a jump ball to Olave, but some really nice throws outside the numbers from Shuck and rolling to his left, of course. So he's been a little bit boom or bust from that perspective, created some explosives, but missed some of the gimmies, and got to get better.
And that's the good thing about that offense. The playmakers, for the most part, are still there. Obviously, they traded away Rashid Shaheed, but the rest of that group is still dynamic.
All right, man, let's make a pick. Man, I don't like this at all.
I'm going with the Saints. I believe, or more to the point, I'm just too confused by the Falcons, and I have no faith in Kirk Cousins and his noodle.
All right, I'll take Atlanta still because they're underdogs here against the Saints. Still a better overall team. Harry's also going to take the Falcons. Not sure he knows about Penix's injury and Drake London's injury, so we'll let you know. I'll give Harry an update.
Yeah. You're all like throwing the kid under the bus. I don't know why his picks are falling off the
kid goes in on Tuesday and makes his picks. If he doesn't want to do his research, that's on him. It's on him. He has limited access to the internet. He could read ESPN.
This is like, Shedeur Sanders been set up for failure. Steve Palazzolo is standing setting Harry up for failure.
It's not my job. It's the 5th round. You can figure it out. Mm-hmm. Learn how to sink or swim.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.